What if I told you that just 76 Canadian billionaires now control $359 billion in personal wealth, more money than the bottom 40% of the country combined? Put differently, their fortunes equal the entire net worth of roughly average Canadian households, about the population of Calgary, compressed into a few dozen boardroom chairs. Pour that coffee and forget the propaganda about a resilient middle class. The top quintile now holds 64% of everything Canada counts as wealth, while the bottom two quintiles scrape by on just 3%. The average household in Canada's top 20% now holds about $3.3 million in net assets: homes, pensions, stocks, everything. By contrast, the average household in the bottom 40% has just $84,500 in total net worth, about what you'd need for a 10% down payment on a basic condo in suburban Toronto. And above even that sits the 1% quietly commanding around 1/4 of all Canadian wealth, a share the Parliamentary Budget Officer itself flags as destabilizing. Statistics Canada's own surveys show more than 70% of Canadians now believe a small group controls most of the economy, up 10 points since 2020, a sentiment strongest in resource towns across British Columbia. Since 2024, the number of Canadian billionaires is up 13%, and their aggregate wealth jumped 14%, even as median real wages flatlined. Meanwhile, Statistics Canada reports the income share gap between the top 40% and the bottom 40% hit 46.9 percentage points in late 2024, the widest on record. If that sounds abstract, picture a Roman banquet, the senator's feast, the plebs' empty grain doles. Sound familiar? Canada may fly a maple leaf, but the script rhymes with late Republic rot. The root problem isn't wages, it's ownership. Assets compound, paychecks don't. And the tax code is written in permanent ink by the people who own the compounding. Capital gains above $250,000 still enjoy lower effective rates than labor, even after Ottawa's 2024 tweak. Result, stocks and property balloon at the top while everyone else wails on credit cards. Yet public sentiment has flipped. 9 out of 10 Canadians across party lines now back a dedicated wealth tax on the richest. Internal finance. Canada focus groups echo the same rage. People want top-enders to pay more, fund housing, and curb grocery chain markups. Let me be clear. I'm a capitalist to the core. Wealth earned by taking real risks and creating real value should be celebrated. What corrodes prosperity is when market power warps the rules, blocking fair competition for everyone else. So why does policy crawl? Because wealth buys lobbyists and lobbyists draft loopholes. Ask yourself who benefits when capital gains changes phase in over years while rent hikes arrive on Thursday. Even Oxfam's 2024 snapshot shows Canadian billionaire wealth surging $309 million per day, a pace that mocks every inflation relief check Ottawa mailed out. Put another way, the 10 richest Canadians could lose 99% of their fortunes overnight and still rank among the country's wealthiest. That is not a free market outcome, it's a fortress. Historically, fortress economics precede populist fire. Britain after the Boer War, America in 1929, Brazil in 2013. Canada is tiptoeing onto that same ledge, just politely. Housing is the accelerant. Prices rose 350% since 2000 in major centers, yet wages barely budged. Leverage replaced productivity, and now variable rate borrowers stare into a 7% abyss. StatsCan's wealth table shows the top quintile actually gained financial asset value in 2024, while their real estate dipped because they could pivot to markets. The bottom 40% could not. Think of ancient Rome's divide. Everyday citizens held coins that shrank in value, while elites owned land and revenue streams. Swap in today's index funds and private equity, and the pattern is eerily familiar. Climate footprint. The richest households also generate the lion's share of emissions because private jets and multi-home portfolios chew carbon faster than any heat pump rebate can offset. History offers two paths: voluntary reform or involuntary rupture. Britain chose the people's budget of 1910. Argentina chose capital flight. Canada's window is still open, and the math is straightforward. The C.C.P.E. calculates a 1% annual levy on fortunes above 50 million would raise roughly 10 billion a year, enough to double the federal housing accelerator. A full 66% inclusion rate on capital gains over 250,000 would net another 19 billion, more than Ottawa spends on core infrastructure annually. Add an inheritance tax above 5 million and you rebuild dental care, pharmacare, and still have change for housing. Critics scream capital flight, but 9 out of 10 Canadians already back the principle, and PBO modeling shows less than 1% of top-tier wealth would relocate under a modest levy. Investors, take note. Policy risk is tilting. Watch parliamentary committee agendas, but also watch REIT spreads. Rising chatter about wealth taxes often coincides with widening mortgage-backed security yields. Bay Street already prices that risk. Premium financing for multifamily builds is up 40 basis points since March, precisely as the capital gains bill hit the Senate. For households, the playbook is a barbell. Short-term GICs for liquidity, broad market ETFs for long-run upside. A dash of physical gold as geopolitical insurance, because central banks are hoarding bullion while chatter of dollar risk rises. Demand policymakers take 3 concrete steps. Close the loophole, letting private equity dividends masquerade as capital gains. Publish a real-time lobbyist register so voters see who shapes tax draft. Index the basic personal amount to median wages, not CPI, so the floor rises with productivity. Stop doom scrolling and start door knocking. Change rarely begins in question period. It starts at constituency offices when 5 neighbors insist. Because if Ottawa stalls, the snap phase waits. Currency drift, bond market revolt, and a populist wave that makes today's TikTok spats look quaint. But reform is cheaper than rupture. Polls are clear. Canadians overwhelmingly support taxing extreme wealth when the revenue targets housing and healthcare. The hard part isn't maths, it's will. And will, as history shows, emerges when enough citizens connect the dots between grocery prices, rent checks, and the Gulf Stream idling at Pearson. If this breakdown sharpened your view, share it with someone who still believes Maple Leafs guarantee fairness. Drop your one bold policy fix in the comments below. History rhymes. Power rebrands. Stay inquisitive.